Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today, by extremely popular demand, we will be reviewing every single studio album from the one and only Cattle Decapitation. Their brand new album, Terrasite, comes out in just a few days now. I can't really think of a better way to prepare for this event than with another event like this, reviewing every Cattle Decapitation album. You want it, I want it, let's not waste any time, let's get right into it. As per the norm, I am not interested in EPs, demos, live albums, or compilations, or anything released by any kind of solo or side project. I am talking exclusively about Cattle Decapitation and exclusively about their studio albums. I will be talking about each record in order of release, assigning each a score out of 5, 5 obviously being the best, 0 obviously being the worst. First up, we have Human Jerky, released in April 1999 via 31G. Wikipedia lists this thing as an EP, but the Encyclopedia Metallum considers this to be a full-blown studio album, and I see no reason not to trust the Encyclopedia Metallum, especially not when the alternative is Wikipedia. So, yeah. Full-blown studio album it is. No EP death sentence for you, Human Jerky. I'm willing to bet most of you, if you've heard of Cattle Decapitation, it's probably through the Anthropocene, Extinction, and Monolith of Inhumanity, because those records were such massive hits in the last decade. I'll give you a benefit of the doubt. Maybe you've heard of them through Karma Bloody Karma, or The Harvest Floor. That's possible. But you definitely didn't know about them through this record, or through its successor, Homovore. These albums, very simply put, have been kind of forgotten, even by Cattle Decapitation themselves, which is a shame because while they may lack the depth and nuance of some of the other records that we've already mentioned, they are gnarly. They are brutal, they are gory, and they do offer pretty much everything I want from, like, a really primitive, straightforward, meat and potatoes, like, death grind extreme metal record. Lots of blistering riffs and beats and gurgling vocals. It's sick, it's demented, it's twisted, it's got some corny-ass fucking samples. It actually opens with a sample from the original Ghostbusters film. Rabid, uncompromising, twisting. The guitars snarl and punish and grind and crush. The drums are unrelenting. The vocals are in your face, and it sounds as if Travis Ryan is just vomiting actual sewage. By no means groundbreaking, revolutionary shit, but it's fun. It's worth a shot. It's only 16 minutes long, so, like, why not, honestly? I guess I'm feeling like an enthusiastic 3 out of 5. There's not really a lot to come back to, but it's fun while it's on. It's nasty. It's gnarly. It hits the spot. It does its job. It fucks off. I respect Human Jerky, even if it isn't, like, a favorite of mine. Next up, we have Homovore, released in May 2000, also via 31G, and you can actually literally copy and paste everything I said about Human Jerky and apply it here. Like, I ain't even fucking joking. This album in many ways actually feels identical to Human Jerky. It wouldn't shock me if this were originally a double album and they just spaced this thing out like load and reload style. You know what I mean? Every single positive and every single negative that I have and that you might have with Human Jerky remains intact on Homovore. There are no refinements or adjustments made whatsoever. It's just fast, gnarly, straight to the fucking point, death grind with lots of gory bits and bloody chunks. Like, literally, you could put a gun to my head and be like, which album is better? And I could not give you a fucking answer. You'd honest to God have to shoot me. I guess with that in mind, this is also a 3 out of 5. Not groundbreaking, not revolutionary, doesn't need to be. It's fun, gory death grind. What more could you want? Side note, these would be the only albums featuring Gabe Serbian, who passed away a while back. Rest in peace, Gabe. Condolences to your friends and family and bandmates. A supremely talented individual that passed far too soon and far too young, tragically. I hope wherever Gabe is right now, he's at peace, jamming with all his heroes. Next up, we have To Serve Man, released in July 2002 via Metal Blade Records, and it's fine. Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, I'm not really a fan. It definitely occupies a space similar to that of Human Jerky and Homovore, where it is brutal and it will give you your riffs and beats, which I'm sure is what most of y'all just want anyway. More power to ya. Where this thing suffers, though, is in the production. It feels kind of muzzled, and it feels really dirty and gritty, but not like in a really cool or attractive or brutal way. Like, it just sounds really unfinished, unpolished, even by, like, brutal death metal, death grind, extreme metal standards. This album is also double the length of Human Jerky and Homovore, which is also kind of a problem because the songwriting isn't really at that level yet where I feel like they can really justify having longer songs. I don't know, it just feels like a misstep, a miscalculation, not a full-blown dud, because I do think, there's some strong performances here. And again, if you are just looking for your brutal, gory goodness, you will absolutely get it here. But it's not going to taste as good as what we just had with Homovore and Human Jerky. I'm feeling a 2.5 out of 5 on this. I guess all things considered, it is probably my least favorite Cattle Decapitation record. Still a serviceable, if unremarkable, like, brutal death metal, death grind record, all things considered. Would I return to it? Maybe not, but I don't feel as if I've wasted, like, a bunch of time or anything like that, Next up, we have Homovore, released in July 2004, once again via Metal Blade Records, and this is a massive improvement on To Serve Man in pretty much every single capacity and facet. It's bigger, it's louder, it's meaner, it's more provocative, it's more urgent, a little bit more of the depth and power and poignancy and relevance that I expect from Cattle Decapitation nowadays. It's beginning to rear its head too. The production actually does have a little bit of like genuine balance and polish to it, at least enough to give this music like room to breathe without compromising any of the brutality and any of the power and precision. We're definitely leaning further into death than we are grind on this particular death grind record, but I'm not bothered by that whatsoever. Travis's like very dominating, like gurgling, monstrous vocals, coupled with the more sinister kind of like death metal leads and wailing guitars, it works really well with the more intense and brutal pace of like death grind and like the gore grind that we've already come to hear from Cattle Decapitation at this point in time. Some of my favorite Cattle Decapitation songs actually happen to be on this thing as well. Bukkake Tsunami, which is gross and goofy as fuck, never fails to put a smile on my face. It delights the disgusting, edgy 12-year-old in me, but it also has like some really cool, demented, like technical riffery and some really powerful beats and some weirder, almost dissonant soundscapes. It's kind of a weird maelstrom of pure fucking, like, death grind extremity, of death metal madness. Lips and Assholes is great, too. Chummified. Always loved that artwork, too, of, like, the cow just, like, defecating, but, like, it's all, like, human waste, and it's set against this, like, apocalyptic dystopian setting. If I had one criticism at all, it would probably be levied towards the guitar tone. I would just like something a little bit more muscular and filthy from my brutal death, from my death grind, from my whatever the fuck you want to call Cattle Decapitation. But all things considered, I think this album actually holds up pretty well, feeling a very strong 3.5 out of 5, leaning pretty close to 4 out of 5, honestly. Like, very, very close to a 4 out of 5. Next up, we have Karma Bloody Karma, released in July 2006, and yet another massive improvement. Just like how Homovore expanded and refined everything that To Serve Man did, or rather tried to do, so too does Karma Bloody Karma expand and refine everything that Homovore tried to do, or rather tried to do. It's more technical, it's more provocative, it's more brutal. The production is brighter and cleaner, still without compromising that brutality. Cattle Decapitation doing a great job at creating this balance between like having something that is listenable and still having something that feels really fucking dirty and scummy and shitty and just covered in like filth and crap and vomit. Definitely feels like Travis Ryan is getting like even more cynical, and he's like paying more attention to the world around him. He's politically and socially more active, and that is absolutely feeding a lot of what is lyrically and conceptually happening here on stuff like Alone at the Landfill, Unintelligent Design. The songs themselves are also starting to get a little bit more progressive, like The New Dawn has like this really long atmospheric build to it, which kind of harkens to what we would come to expect from Cattle on stuff like Anthropocene Extinction, Monolith of Inhumanity. There's a lot of catharsis and emotion built here because of that. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of like full-on death metal brutality. Success is hanging by their necks is a full-on fucking rager and stomper. The aforementioned Unintelligent Design as well. Great way to start off this record with just flurries of like hyper-technical, jagged, almost gore guts-esque riffery. Love Total Gore as well. I like some of the more chaotic and frenzied moments mixed in with like some really groovy, chunky death metal. I'm feeling a 4 to 5 on this one. If you were looking for like a bridging point between like the two eras of Cattle Decapitation, the new and the old, this is probably it, because it still has like the really gory kind of old school death grind shit, and it still has some of the goofier elements, but it also like has some more progressive ambitions, and it also has lyrically a bit more to say, and it's more technical. Just a really great record. Check it out if you have not already. Next up, we have The Harvest Floor, released in January 2009, once again via Metal Blade Records, and in case it somehow was not already obvious to you that Cattle Decapitation are vegans and have very strong opinions on human rights, animal rights, capitalism, the meat industry, freedom of choice, free will, then it sure as hell fucking should be now after having heard The Harvest Floor. Kind of hard to call Cattle Decapitation a death grind band at this point. We're definitely going way more into progressive and technical death metal territory, though there are like some grindy little bursts and nuggets to be found across here. Primarily, this feels like a searing, vicious indictment of how Cattle Decapitation feels about the world, you know? It is very much them just kind of unleashing a lot of like pain and anger and vitriol, comparing mankind to like cattle's being led to slaughter. I would not say that this is the band's most bitter or nihilistic record, but it definitely comes damn near close at times. I mean, there's a severe lack of light and hope on this record. The Gardeners of Eden just mows you down with like ferocious beats and like massively chunky, meaty fucking riffs. Love a lot of the screeched vocals in the background, giving this a lot of height and scale. Then there's a Body Farm, which is just so explosive and so dynamic. We Are Horrible People, probably one of the most blunt and impossible to misinterpret songs I've heard on any Cattle Decapitation record, if you ask me. Tons of other great numbers as well. The title track, Harvest Floor, The Public Bath, Tooth Enamel and Concrete. Feeling a 4 to 5 on this one as well, though it is more ambitious and more powerful. I think it's, you know, on the same level overall as something like Karma Bloody Karma. Not that that's a bad thing, because that's also a great record. So, you know, yet another record that you should check out if you have not already. I don't feel a need to say that for these next couple of records. And this brings us to the big boy, the big one, the big cheese, Monolith of Inhumanity, released in May 2012 via Metal Blade Records. One of the most brutal, powerful, influential, and just fantastic death metal, extreme metal records of the 2010s. Maybe one of the best extreme metal records of all time, in my opinion at least. Arguably Cattle Decapitation's best album. I would certainly make that argument. Their most timeless album, their most important album. I remember when this thing came out, and me and my friends were all just absolutely fucking floored by this thing. Like, I remember going to my buddy Austin's house, like, after class. I was in college at the time, and like we would just get high and like we'd fucking play Dead Space and like listen to this album often on repeat because we just thought it was like the coolest, heaviest, craziest shit in the world. And that was before we even really paid attention to like anything that was happening lyrically, conceptually, thematically on the record. Now that I do know everything that's going on, I'm even more so convinced that this thing is just an absolute wrecking ball of apocalyptic proportions. First off, though, I gotta talk about the production. Like, production-wise, mixing and mastering, the scale, the size of this thing, this is one of the best metal albums ever. Not death metal, not extreme metal, just metal in general. I mean, there's so much fucking happening, and it's never overwhelming, it never feels really bombastic, it never feels over the top or like egregious. Like, everything is really well balanced, everything is visible, everything is clear. Songwriting is top-notch, too. I mean, at this point, we can go on and just say that Cattle Decapitation are like a full-on tech-death, progressive death metal band. It certainly feels like that with this record. Some of those grindy elements still remain. There's also, I would argue, some more melodic death metal influences kind of coming into the fray here. You can definitely hear that, especially with some of the more elaborate soaring guitar licks, and even in Travis Ryan's, very nasally cleans, which, finally begin to make an appearance on this record, officially, like, in the forefront of the sound. And those are great, too, because, I mean, he just sounds like a fucking demon. Like, he sounds like a prophet standing atop a mountain of garbage and, like, human carcasses. Every single song on here is just absolutely fucking incredible. Kingdom of Tyrants is one of my all-time favorite Cattle Decapitation numbers. Do Not Resuscitate, The Carbon Stampede, Dead Set on Suicide, Life Stalker, The Monolith, Your Disposal, A Living, Breathing, Defecating Piece of Meat. Forced Gender Reassignment goes even harder now than I would say it does like back in the day. I remember when the music video for this came out, and it attracted a lot of controversy for, like, the gore and, like, the very claustrophobic vibe. But I feel like a lot of people don't really talk a lot about the lyrics anymore, which is a little weird, because right now they're super relevant, like super crazy relevant. Like the whole idea essentially is about taking like these bigots and these transphobes and like, these religious figures that preach about acceptance and love and unity no matter what, but they're also bigots and fucking transphobes. So the idea of the song is to kind of like force them to have a gender reassignment surgery to make them live through what they feel is in their minds their worst fucking nightmare. And I don't want to hear that I'm injecting my own beliefs or my own politics into this. Literally read the fucking lyrics for yourself, you dumb motherfuckers. The way that this album deals with the apocalypse, environmental and social issues remains so powerful, so relevant, so poignant, even to this day. The songs are still amazing, the production is still fantastic, this thing has had a profound influence on so much death and extreme metal in the 2010s, anybody arguing otherwise simply is not paying attention. This is very easily a 5 out of 5 for me, like not even up for debate. When I think about a perfect record, when I think about a timeless, incredible, one-of-a-kind record that deserves a 5 out of 5 score, I'm thinking of a record like this. End of fucking discussion. End of story. Fuck you. I love this album. Next up, we have the Anthropocene Extinction, released August 2015, once again via Metal Blade Records. Basically a continuation, musically and thematically, of Monolith of Inhumanity, and I'm fine with that because, as we literally just discussed, that record is perfect, and this one, damn near close. Following up Monolith of Inhumanity would not be an easy task for anyone. Cattle Decapitation certainly do their damnedest. The songs are big, dynamic, ambitious, progressive, consuming, every buzzword that we just used for Monolith of Inhumanity. Some really cool collaborations and special guest appearances on here as well. Jürgen Barscht from Bethlehem does some spoken word shit on the song Pacific Grim. Author and Punisher contributes the intro to Plagueborn. And the one and only Phil Anselmo even manages to make an appearance on here, offering some narration on the Prophets of Loss. Love all those contributions. There's definitely a lot added to this record because of those little dynamics, those little things, and those little contributions. The way the record opens with Manufactured Extinct is amazing. It has these really slow-paced, pulverizing riffs, you know, with some very ferocious kind of blast beats and some snarling high shrieks. That's actually probably my favorite song on the record, if we're being honest, although Clandestine Ways is great too, Mammals in Babylon. I like seeing the band focus more on, like, environmental chaos and environmental apocalypse, you know, like global warming and climate change and, like, how we deal with pollution and garbage and stuff like that. Ultimately, there's nothing on this record that I love as much as any one track on Monolith of Inhumanity, but from start to finish, it is still an incredible ride and a more than worthy successor. Strong 4.5 out of 5. It really is an incredible record. It was never going to live up to Monolith of Inhumanity because it is such a fantastic one-of-a-kind moment, not even album, a moment. But Anthropocene Extinction does its best and comes pretty damn close at times. Not quite gold medal, but hey, ain't nothing wrong with silver. Ain't nothing wrong with silver whatsoever. And finally, this brings us to Death Atlas, released in November 2019, once again via Metal Blade Records. And holy fucking shit, the anger, the grief, the hatred, the violence, the despair, the sadness on display here. Oh my fucking lord. It just sounds like these guys have given up on humanity on this record. After years of paying attention to the world and how it's turning and what's happening on planet Earth, it sounds like Cattle Decapitation have just entered their doomer phase and they're just like, you know what? Fuck it. I just want it all to fucking burn. I don't give a shit anymore. You know how, like, in every, like, superhero blockbuster movie, like an Avengers movie, or even something like Transformers or whatever, there's, like, this one really big fucking event that just fucks everything up. The villain seemingly has won for the moment, but the heroes eventually rally together, and they fucking stop the bad guy, and everything's fine and good. The apocalypse has been subverted, at least for one more day. This feels like the heroes never got together, or maybe they did, but they decided they just don't fucking care anymore. Like, Iron Man fucked off to a beach, Captain America said, fuck it, I'm gonna go get me some fucking poontang because I've been frozen since the 40s. This ain't worth it. Fuck it. Fuck you. Cattle Decapitation just do not hold back at all. Like, Be Still Our Bleeding Hearts, which is just like, yeah, all these fucking, like, Twitter liberals who think they're doing so much and they're just crying, but they're not actually doing anything. You know what? Fuck you. And stuff like Finish Them and With All Disrespect, which is just like, again, just like total fuck you energy bullshit. Cattle Decapitation wants the world to literally burn. There's literally a song on here called Bring Back the Fucking Plague, god damn it. And lo and behold, an actual plague kind of happened, sort of? 'Cause I mean, COVID-19 popped up right afterwards. And irregardless of how you feel about COVID-19, there's no denying that it has had a profound impact on planet Earth and how we now do things. So, thanks, Cattle Decapitation! And that, in and of itself, also makes this album all the more foreboding and ominous. Like, holy shit, this album literally came out on the verge of an actual fucking plague. Like, holy shit. That has, like, the same energy as Slayer releasing God Hates Us All on 9/11. Like, oh my fucking god. And of course, like, performance-wise, production-wise, this thing is top fucking notch. These guys continue to refine their craft, get louder, meaner, more brutal, better at fucking everything. I actually do think I would give this also a 5 out of 5. I mean, holy fucking shit. It just goes so absurdly, stupidly fucking hard. And while I personally prefer Monolith of Inhumanity, there's definitely an argument to be made that this is Cattle Decapitation's best record. I know the Forge Master guys, they made that argument pretty recently on their channel. And that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Booyah! Reviewing every Cattle Decapitation record. Now it's your turn to let me know what's your favorite album from this band. What are some of your favorite songs from this band? How would you rank and score their discography? Hey Robert, what about Terrasite? Hey, glad you asked, whoever the fuck you are. But unfortunately, you have to wait until Friday, May 12th to hear about Terrasite. So, yeah, just exercise a little fucking patience. In the meantime, though, you can check out this interview I did with Josh Elmore from Cattle Decapitation. You can also check out, I don't know, whatever the fuck is over here, maybe a drinking game or some bullshit. Subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.